What's up, schmucks? 2023 is done. We killed it, we buried it, and now it's time to celebrate. Last year was great. In terms of the cult of schmucks, we did pretty good. Most of the videos I made did really well. I got tons of great feedback. Also, the cult of schmucks itself hit its 1,000th member, which is crazy. Overall, pretty solid year. So I figured it'd be good to look back at 2023 and see what movies truly stood out. I didn't review most of the movies I saw, even though I saw a lot. I saw 50 newly released movies this year, which is crazy. I've never seen that many in a single year. And yet, sadly, I didn't review like 97% of them. I don't think I even did 3%. I think I reviewed what? Maybe 2. But in 2024, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna review them all. Every movie I see, I will review it, I swear. Anyway, that was then, this is now, and now I will be whittling down the 50 movies I saw to the 10 that I truly loved. I didn't see everything though. I missed quite a few that I really wanted to see, like The Holdovers, Anatomy of a Fall, Priscilla, May December, Poor Things, and a few others that I'm sure I'm blanking on. But yeah, anyway, this is my list, meaning these are my opinions, but it's important to remember, my opinions, Roast Turkey's opinions, are the correct opinions. I didn't decide that, God did. So if you have a problem with it, bring it up with God. Anyway, let's get into it. Also, I don't know if it's gonna come through in the recording, but I'm currently getting over a cold, so my voice might sound gross and weird. That's why. Anyway, kicking off our list is a horror movie. I love a good horror movie, and this year was a great year for horror. Evil Mom, M3gan, Cream 6, Dracula on a Boat. But there was one horror movie this year that really stood above the rest for me, and I got to see it 3 weeks ahead of release, and that movie was Talk to Me. Talk to Me was the horror movie this year that I found to be the most inventive, most riveting, and importantly, most frightening. I'm a jumpy little bitch. Jump scares will always get me. They never won't. But it's not often that a horror movie truly scares me, you know? Talk to Me scared me. It's well shot, well paced, and has some of the most terrifying sequences I've seen in a horror movie in quite a few years. Also, that ending, sheesh. The superhero movies of 2023 were largely disappointing. Aquaman 2 might be the driest superhero movie there is. Quantumania made me want to jump off a roof. But amongst the trash, something stood out. A sequel to a beloved Marvel movie. A movie about family, about finding your place in the world, and about destiny being bullshit and police states being terrifying. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse didn't really surprise me. I figured it would be good, but I wasn't really prepared for what it actually had in store for me. Mrs. Shen from the Venom movies, that was fun. Spectacular Spider-Man, that got me excited. But Donald Glover as Prowler, dude, that actually blew my mind. I just did not, I didn't see that coming. Across the Spider-Verse is not only one of the best Spider-Man movies, but it's also one of the best superhero movies. It perfectly encapsulates the essence and the familiarity of Spider-Man while also taking him on a type of adventure we've never seen in a movie before. But it also takes the decades worth of Spider-Man ideas and stories and concepts and throws them into a big blender and delivers a delicious smoothie full of Easter eggs, fan service, and familiar yet bold ideas. I love this movie, and I cannot wait to see how Spider-Man's story is going to end in 2033. In the old days, Indiana Jones was a series to go to for exciting and high-stakes globe-trotting action adventure, and in 2023, Indiana Jones was back to disappoint us. Those days have come and gone. Nowadays, you know what it's all about? It's about Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning isn't the best Mission Impossible movie. 6 still is in my opinion, but that doesn't mean that Mission Impossible 7 isn't amazing in its own right. This is some of the best action set pieces I've seen in any movie in quite some time, and I don't mean fight sequences. I mean shit like that car chase in Italy and that train car escape sequence. Good God, that was awesome. But above all of that great action is a wonderful duo in Haley Atwell and Tom Cruise. This is my favorite actor pairing this year. Their chemistry and the way that they bounce off of each other is just insane. So mesmerizing and so enjoyable. I could not take my eyes off of these two. There were a lot of cliffhangers and part 1s this year, but I felt like this movie easily did it the best. And I truly believe that Mission Impossible 8 will be the new series high. I have all the faith in the world in Christopher McQuarrie's vision. Who doesn't want to see Tom Cruise fight God for the fate of humanity? That sounds awesome. As for Mission Impossible 7, its high-octane action had me on the edge of my seat. Its suspense and tension had me holding my breath. Its character moments had me cheering and wincing. And seeing Tom Cruise do his Tom Cruise thing still proves to be a winning strategy. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning is truly epic, and you should choose to accept that. Something not everybody knows about me is that I love romantic movies. Romantic comedies, romantic dramas, romantic period pieces, any of it. Love it. Big fan of the genre. And we had quite a few romantic movies this year. No Hard Feelings, The Little Mermaid, Ghosted, I think. I didn't see it. It looked terrible. But one romantic movie really stood out this year. One that I found to be quite endearing. Past Lives. Past Lives is the directorial debut of Celine Song, and I will be watching her career closely because this movie is truly fantastic. It's so lovely and sweet and sincere and beautiful from start to finish. Each actor gives an incredible performance, especially Greta Lee. I also like that this movie doesn't really play out the way it might in the hands of a lesser storyteller, but it also doesn't subvert expectations just for the sake of doing so. Everything in this movie feels intentional, and everything is working as its own little cog in this big machine to tell this story. This is a fantastically made movie, a fantastically shot movie, a fantastically written movie, and overall, it is just a truly delightful experience. I loved Past Lives. Next at number 6 is a movie I think a lot of people would put higher than me, but despite not making it higher than 6, I absolutely adore this movie. Killers of the Flower Moon. This movie made me angry and upset, but it also made me laugh, and I ultimately had a really good time with it while also being angry and upset. It's a very interesting experience. It's not really an enjoyable movie because of the miserable subject matter that it deals with and the harrowing story that it's telling, but it is an enjoyable movie because it's a spectacle. It's because of its dialogue, because of its set design, its costume design, its performances. I really hope Lily Gladstone wins that Oscar. The best word I could probably use to describe this movie is tough. This whole movie is tough. It's tough in a good way. It's tough to get through. Like some of the shots in this movie, they go fucking hard, dude. Scorsese was cooking with this movie. Absolutely. This is one of those movies that I love, not just because I love the movie itself, but because I love movies and I love the making of movies and the craft of movies. This movie just really reminded me that this craft and this art form really means something to me. Killers of the Flower Moon is a real honest-to-God film, and I loved that. I'm recording this section on a different day, so if my voice sounds better, that's probably why. I've definitely gotten over my cold by now. Anyway, before we enter my top 5 of the year, I want to quickly run through some honorable mentions. Movies I really loved, but were kept off the list by movies I loved even more. So, here's my honorable mentions of 2023 and a brief sentiment of praise. The Iron Claw, easily the most depressing movie I saw in 2023, but I loved it. I love the family unit at the center of it. I love how the movie tackles toxic masculinity and combats that with a good dude's rock energy. I love Jeremy Allen White and Zac Efron in this movie. This movie was fantastic. Loved it. Barbie. This was probably the most fun I had in a movie in 2023. Just a ton of good laughs and good vibes. And this movie also made me realize just how desperately I need Greta Gerwig to make a musical. Evil Dead Rise. Really solid horror movie. Had some great gore, great kills, and a really great performance from Alyssa Sutherland. And my favorite title card of the year. Scream 6. A real return to form for the Scream series in my opinion. I didn't like 5, but I really like this one. Just a great fun time at the theater. I loved it. A Knock at the Cabin. This one really surprised me, but it's great. It has a tense and visceral home invasion sequence. It's shot really beautifully. The family unit at the center of it I found to be super engaging, and it was a pretty subtle ending for a Shyamalan thing. Really great stuff. Asteroid City. Wes Anderson was back this year, and he cooked yet again with a fun tale about life, love, and aliens. A fun cast of kooky characters, and it made me think really hard about being alive, and I always appreciate that kind of stuff. Nimona was a real surprise for me, but I absolutely adored it. Slick animation, a heartwarming story, endearing characters, great performances, hilarious comedy, a wonderful message. It's a bunch of the stuff I like in my movies, and Nimona does it all wonderfully. The Creator. Sci-fi is my favorite genre ever, and so I was super excited for a new sci-fi epic, and I was not disappointed. This movie has vicious war scenes, touching human moments, and I liked what it had to say about war and 9/11 and humanity in general. At least that's how I interpreted it. Also, put John David Washington in more things. That guy's fucking cool. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. This is probably my favorite TMNT movie now. I really love the animation, the brotherly bond, the performances, and the humor. Honestly, super excited for the sequel. It can't come soon enough. Alright, now it's time to get into my last 5. My top 5 favorite movies of 2023. Let's get it. Take it away, Roast Turkey from the past. Kicking off my top 5 is a movie that made me realize that my comfort characters are mentally ill serial killers. You know, the Barrys and the Antons and the Joes of media. And that is The Killer. David Fincher came back this year to serve us up a movie that's slick, stylish, methodical, intense, and for me, truly mesmerizing. I love how this movie looks, but I really love how it sounds. The sound design in this movie is one of the best of the year, truly. I also love the visual language that this movie establishes with its protagonist. When the killer is in control, the camera is steady and focused, like him. But when all hell breaks loose or he screws up or he's scared, the camera goes handheld and it becomes agitated and sporadic, like him. It's really cool. I absolutely love that. Also, the restaurant sequence with Tilda Swinton, she gives him that monologue. Oh my god. I think I've watched that scene like 15 times since this movie came out. It is so good. She is so good. She steals the show. I really felt that this movie was brilliant, and I was really surprised how much I loved it. But yeah, The Killer is killer. A while ago, I made a best of the year video. It was 2019, and the first Shazam movie made my list, albeit a little higher than number 4. Now, the year is 2023, and we got the next Shazam movie, and it was dreadful. Easily the worst movie I saw this year. No way was it getting close to my top 10, never mind top 5. Are you kidding me? Number 4 is John Wick Chapter 4. Not only the best action movie of the year, but I feel probably the best action movie in many years, maybe since Raid 2. And it's also my favorite movie in the John Wick saga. Going into John Wick 4, I want to say that I was excited, but I wasn't. I was nervous. I think John Wick 3 is the weakest of the series. I think it's pretty meh. And there's only so many times I can watch John Wick do this disarm move and shoot someone before I get bored. And I was really scared going into 4, knowing it was going to be the longest one. I didn't like the last one. I had no real reason to be excited. But luckily, John Wick 4 is an action spectacle and a true innovation of the series. John Wick 4 elevates the action, it elevates the supporting cast, it elevates the cinematography, and it concludes the story all in incredible ways. I will not forget the Arc de Triomphe shootout. I will not forget Kane. I will not forget that little hair flip Keanu does before he fights Scott Adkins. I will not forget the top-down shooter sequence. I will not forget the spin-off they teased at the end. Give me that Rina Sawayama Donnie Yen movie, man. But John Wick 4 feels like a great ending to John Wick's story, while also feeling like a stepping stone into more tales for this fascinating world. And if they make them, I'll watch them. Do you realize that the dog days are over? I did, and I cried about it. I'm not gonna lie, I cried a few times in this movie, and that's because it's beautiful, and I love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is exactly what I want in a superhero movie. Exciting action, fun worlds with quirky characters, endearing protagonists, great visuals, and a clear vision or style, and James Gunn just has it all on lock. He's so consistently good at making these movies, and Guardians 3 felt like an end of an era for him. He says Superman Legacy will be a very different type of movie, and so I wonder if this truly is the last time we'll see a James Gunn superhero movie like this, and if it is, what a one to end on, because this movie is amazing. The villain is one of the MCU's best. It has the single best action set piece in the MCU. It concludes the MCU's best series, and has some of my favorite moments in the whole Guardians trilogy. In a year where most of the superhero content was slop, it was good to see one made with care and craft and creativity and real genuine heart. This felt like a proper ending to the Guardians story. It felt like a proper farewell to James Gunn's Marvel era. And it was a movie that sucked me in so much that I honestly forgot I was even watching a movie anymore. I don't know how to describe that feeling, but I'm sure you know what I mean. And I know there's probably one guy who's like, there's no way you put Guardians of the Galaxy above Killers of the Flower Moon. And I'm having that same thought too. And the only way I could really justify it is that this is how I feel. Fuck off. But yeah, I loved Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's my favorite MCU movie. It's my favorite Guardians movie, and it is my third favorite movie of 2023. When I was 5 years old, my father showed me a foreign film made in 1991, and it legit changed my life. From that day forward, a love affair began with one of the greatest fictional characters of all time. In the coming years, I watched every piece of media about this character, starting from the mid-1900s to the early 2000s. I consumed it all, and I loved it. This character, this franchise, is what got me interested in film. One day, I just poked around in the DVD menu of one of them, and I stumbled upon the behind-the-scenes, the making of features, characters, and from there on, I had this devout fascination in the making of movies and the craft of this art form. Without this character, without this series, I wouldn't be passionate about this stuff enough to sit here and make this very video. And so when in 2023 we got what I now consider to be the very best of the franchise, it brought me right back to that feeling when I was a child. It reminded me why I love cinema, why I'm interested in movies, and why I love this character. My second favorite movie of 2023 is Godzilla Minus One. Godzilla Minus One is everything I feel a Goji movie should be. It's a visual spectacle, it's an endearing tale, it has strong themes and messages, and it has an incredible representation of Godzilla. This movie is the most engaging and enjoyable Godzilla movie I've probably ever seen. Every character means something and is brought to life through impactful dialogue and fantastic performances. I love the themes and the messages of this movie about anti-nationalism, how the people get better results than bureaucrats, how war is bad actually, how dying in a war maybe isn't the greatest thing you could ever do, and ultimately it's a movie about the indomitable human spirit, and that is all before you even get to Godzilla. Godzilla is at his most ferocious and terrifying in this movie, and the way director Takashi Yamazaki brings it all to life is the best representation of the king of the monsters since GMK in my opinion. Godzilla Minus One is the Godzilla movie I didn't know I needed. It was the movie that most surprised me this year because I truly didn't expect it to be as powerful as it was. And it's the Godzilla movie that I see as the definitive modern representation of the Big G. Godzilla Minus One is awesome. Alright, number one, let's do it. So, this is not going to be a surprise. I think this was a lot of people's number one movie of the year, but I also think that that's definitely for a good reason. This movie was a much bigger hit than people were expecting. Like, people knew it'd be big, but who knew it would be this big? This movie gathered like half of Hollywood and wasted none of them. Everyone is working at 150% here, and it shows. This script is easily the director's best, bringing up questions and ideas about war, about ideology, about religion, about forgiveness, about guilt, about the creation of one of the most dangerous things in the history of our species. Like Killers of the Flower Moon, I don't think this movie is really enjoyable because of what it's about, because this movie, it's sad, it's powerful, it's frightening, but through it all, this movie is glorious. I've seen it 5 times, and each time I notice something else, or I appreciate a different detail. And I'm sure that that's gonna ring true on the 8th viewing, the 14th viewing. Whatever viewing I'm at, I'm sure I will find something new to point at and go, wow. Oppenheimer is fucking fantastic. What more is there to say? I could gush about this movie for the next 20 minutes. I could tell you that this is Cillian Murphy's best performance. I could tell you that this is Nolan's best shot movie. I could tell you this is one of Ludwig Göransson's best scores, but everyone said it. I have nothing to say that would add to the discourse. Everything I have to say is praise. Everything I have to say has been said. There's nothing else I can say. All that needs to be known is that I loved this movie. I think it's Nolan's masterpiece. And the ending of this movie is up there with one of my favorite endings in all of movies. Once again, Oppenheimer is fucking fantastic. And that's that. 2023 was an incredible year for movies. Just so much good stuff coming out. So many heavy-hitting directors came and delivered some great stuff. Scorsese, Nolan, Gerwig, Fincher, Scott. Just a collection of awesome artists delivering some fantastic stuff. Before I go, I do want to say thank you to any returning schmucks or maybe some new ones. You listen to me yap and spin my wheels, and that means so much to me. I'm just a little brown mustache man in his room talking about movies, and you hear me out on that, and that means the fucking world to me. Thank you. I hope you had a wonderful 2023. I hope you're gonna have a fantastic 2024. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you real soon. Bye.